At Truliant, we're with you at every milestone, making it easier for you to shine. So you can saddle up each morning for more than a paycheck. Have the support to expand your horizon, the space to grow your family, and your brightest dreams never have to fade. At Truliant, we help you shine. That's brighter banking. Truliant Federal Credit Union.
Welcome to the Greater Conversations podcast. I'm Deetra Miller, the Director of Member Relations and Engagement at Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. We'll use this platform to showcase our local businesses, our community, and their stories. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I am super excited to welcome Calvin Patterson to the Greater Conversations podcast. So for those of you that don't know who Calvin Patterson is, we're going to have a fun conversation. He walked into our studio here today at such and such Omnivarious Studios and waxed a little nostalgic about what he used to do long ago in this building. So we're going to talk a little bit about his background.
Oh, boy.
But the cool thing about Calvin is he is currently serving as the president of the Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce. So I can't wait to dive into that with him, talk more about the organization, how it got started, and how they actually partner with Greater Winston-Salem Inc. as well. But first, let me just say hello to Mr. Patterson. Hi, Calvin.
Hello, Deetra, and please call me Calvin rather than Mr. Patterson because it reminds me that I'm almost 21.
That's right. That's right.
So
with experience.
With experience, yes.
Calvin will work, but it is a pleasure to be here. I am grateful for the opportunity and excited about the opportunity to share about what the partnership between Greater Winston-Salem Inc. and the Winston-Salem Black Chamber looks like, and my role and our role in making some magic happen in the community.
I love that. I love it when magic happens in the community, especially for our small business owners. So let's talk a little bit about who Calvin Patterson is, because even though I don't detect it, I don't think you grew up in Winston-Salem, right?
Well, if my Brooklyn, New York accent has revealed itself, I guess the cat is out of the bag. Yes, originally born in Brooklyn, New York, lived in both Brooklyn and Queens. Me and my baby brother Arthur and mom and dad. I relocated from New York here to North Carolina back in 1984, initially to Charlotte. Did live out in California for a while when I was going to school out there in Los Angeles. And I have no regrets about being here in the Tar Heel State. It has been a blast. It has been a blessing. The people, the nuance, the karma, and the opportunity. So, yes, originally from New York, and I guess you can take Calvin out of Brooklyn, but you can't take the Brooklyn out of Calvin.
But you still love it here in the Tar Heel State.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about your background, your career path. I was really excited about something that you shared with us earlier about this very building. So just talk a little bit about your career path and what you've done up to this point.
Absolutely. So while in New York, I graduated with a business administration degree from Kingsborough Community College. So I started in the banking industry at Chase Manhattan Bank back in the 70s.
Wow.
So when I went to Medgar Evers College in Brooklyn, went to Cal State LA in Los Angeles, business was in my blood. After relocating to Charlotte, I got an opportunity to work with what was then NCNB. It morphed into Nations Bank, and it's now Bank of America. And my trivia in coming to this building here at Liberty Plaza in lovely Winston-Salem, North Carolina, is that back when I started with NCNB, this used to be the NCNB building.
Wow.
Here in Winston-Salem. So it's one of the few relics that still remains, even though NCNB, the logo has long disappeared, but it certainly brought back memories from, yes, we need to go down to the NCNB Plaza to meet and talk about marketing and talk about accounting and talk about meeting profit goals. So, yes, a little bit of nostalgia involved in being here at the studio today.
The vault is still in the building.
Do you know the combination?
I do not.
Because I didn't bring the dynamite. So we're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've not
Wow.
seen it, but they tell me that it's still here.
Interesting.
That's pretty
Interesting.
cool.
Interesting,
They should
interesting,
open that
interesting.
up to
Absolutely.
the public to see. The reason I'm saying that is because over at Robert Hall, Christy Cox Spencer's event space, they have a vault upstairs in the Capone room, I believe it's
Okay.
called. Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit trail right now. But that's another great small business in this area, and we're going to talk about small businesses.
Awesome.
So, fun fact of the 4 recent places that anywhere that I've had in downtown since I've moved out of my house back in 12 years ago for the podcast. Of the 4 places, 3 of them have had vaults.
Really?
The first one was in the Chatham building where Washington Perk and Aperture are.
Okay.
Because that used to be a jewelry store, so it had a vault. The next place was a temporary place, so that I can't count that. But move past that, where you and I met, there was a
Yes.
vault there because
Really?
it was a distribution place. It was in my office, actually. In the
don't remember
closet,
seeing
yeah, it was a
Oh.
two-side because it was a food distribution company.
Okay.
And the drivers would come in late, so they would put in. They had one of those the night depository
Yes.
things. They would put it in there, and it would fall into the vault. And then there's
Wow.
a vault here. So yeah,
That's pretty cool.
That's a
So-
good sign.
Yeah.
We need to get the combination or the dynamite.
One of the
or a
two.
key. Maybe there's a couple of
works.
keys. Yeah.
That would be the easy route.
Right,
Let's try that
right.
first.
I choose not to go the violent way today. Tomorrow I might be a whole lot different mood, but today I'm going to choose
Not violent, aggressive.
aggressive.
Aggressive,
Yeah. Well, yeah. It could be violent for others.
Boom.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was a blast.
Oh, I love it.
Hold on. I got
Dun-dun.
it. Wait. Let me see. Yeah. This one. You won't hear it, but they will on the
Okay.
flight.
Dun-dun-dun. I
Awesome.
love it. I
Awesome.
love it. Okay. I'm so sorry. We went down a total rabbit trail
Welcome
there,
to
Calvin.
the Omnivera Studios with Tim Beeman.
What was part of going back
love
in
having
time?
fun.
And
Yes.
tell me about yourself. What did you used to do? So,
Exactly.
yes, at the bank for 18 years, a number of roles, including loan officer and a customer service manager. I led a team of 16. I worked in customer service. I did a whole bunch of stuff.
Wow.
Left and became an employee in the nonprofit world. I worked for
Okay.
a nonprofit here in town called Goler Community Development Corporation. They're still around. Their mission then was community economic development, and I was the resource development manager, which is a fancy name for grant writer and marketing person.
Wow.
So I got my feet wet on a professional level in writing grants with Goler. So shout out to Yvonne Smith, who was the executive director at Goler at the time. We're talking the early 2000s. I think Yvonne is still doing great things in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
But she is the one that really helped me reinvent myself after leaving the bank after 18 years. And then we started a consulting company, we being myself and the Queen, also known as my wife Anita, and my nephew
Wonderful.
Dwayne, and the name of the consulting company is Ernest Harvest LLC, and we basically help folks with strategic planning, business planning, grant writing, fund development, startup assistance, and we also teach
Wow.
webinars and seminars throughout the Small Business Center network here in the state. Each of the community colleges in this, the state of North Carolina has a small business center. So each of those small business centers eventually or soon contact Calvin to say, hey, what's your calendar look like? Do you want to teach about grants? You want to teach about this or teach about that? So
Wow,
we
very
have a
nice.
market that is basically statewide. And then, of course, the hat that I'm wearing today, fundamentally, is president of the Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce.
Well, it's very fitting that you're the president, given all of the experience and knowledge that you have. So talk a little bit about the Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce. What is it and what do you do?
It is a 501c6 nonprofit organization. It was started back in 2002. And
Fairly young.
yes, we started in 2002. And of course, the landscape, business wise and otherwise, was different in Winston-Salem. And a lot of folks ask us, even some 22 years later, A, why is there a need for a Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce? And B, how did it get started? So long story short, hit rewind in your memory to what life was like in 2002, technology-wise, right? So
Okay.
was there iPhones? Don't think so.
Nope.
Was there the internet, at least the way that we understand it and embrace it now?
No.
Was there SpaceX and satellites up in space? No. So, long story short, the Winston-Salem Chamber of Commerce, which is what Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. used to be named, had a population from the east side of Winston, which is predominantly African-American and minority, and they changed how they communicated with them. Initially, it was through snail mail. They mailed stuff. So as the early 2000s came into being, the Winston-Salem Chamber chose to email folks rather than mail folks.
Okay.
Now, a lot of folks in that part of town did not have internet, did not have computers, did not have smartphones because there wasn't any. And so the point was there was an uproar about, how can we be members, paying members, and you're not mailing us stuff about meetings and trainings and networking opportunities. Thus, there was an impetus, there was an initiative started among the community as well as some public officials to start the Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce. To be clear, today we are members of each other's organization.
Yes.
The Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce is a member of Greater Winston-Salem, Inc., and we are grateful. I'm grateful for the relationship with Mark Owens, the president, and certainly you and the other members of the staff. And Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. is a member of the Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce. So yes, Dietrich gets invited to events to talk about Greater Winston-Salem, Inc.
Yes.
Because really the need in the community is such that we need both organizations, which leads to why do we need one today, Calvin? Well, this is the example that I give Dietrich. I'm reminded of a visit to a cleaning facility that me and my wife use, not that far from our home, and it's owned by an Asian American, I believe Korean.
Okay.
So one day I walked in and I had the golf shirt on that I'm wearing today with the Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce logo. And, when you're doing your transaction, you strike up a conversation about who's going to win the Super Bowl or what the weather's going to be, who's going to win the election, whatever it may be. So he noticed the logo and he said, "Oh, you're in the Black Chamber of Commerce." I said, "Yes." He said, "I didn't know there was a Black Chamber of Commerce." I said, "Yeah, we've been around for 20 plus years." He said, "Why do we need a Black Chamber of Commerce?" Now, in the background from this conversation, he had a radio playing.
Okay.
And the radio was broadcasting something in what I believe to be Korean.
Okay.
So I had to stop for a minute. I didn't take the question personal. And I said, the reason that there's a Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce is similar to why you're listening to a radio in your native language. Not that you couldn't listen to a program in English or some other language, but you choose to listen to this particular radio program in your native language. That's why we have a Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce. That when people come to us with a need on how to start a business, what markets exist, what partners to consider partnering with, what about funding, what about social media, what about a mission statement, what about a business plan, we can give them the same thing that anybody else can, the Small Business Center, Forsyth Tech, or Greater Winston-Salem, Inc., but we give it to them through the lens of the African-American experience. So we talk about what used to be a thriving African-American community here in Winston-Salem, near Innovation Quarter. If anyone from Winston-Salem knows the history of that neighborhood, due to Jim Crow, due to segregation, in the early 1900s, really through the 1960s, there were thriving black businesses in that area out of necessity. Some people don't know that what's now the Winston-Salem Transit Authority started as Safe Bus Company, an organization started by some entrepreneurial African-American men. And I say men, even though this is Women's History Month. There were women involved as well. But the men were the ones that signed the certificates with the Secretary of State and all that. My point being this. When someone is considering starting a business or growing a business, we want them to be able to reference, whether they're from Winston-Salem or not, that there's a rich entrepreneurial legacy that they can build on and that others embrace. So, yes, why do we need a Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce? Because we welcome everyone. The Winston-Salem Symphony is a member of the Black Chamber of Commerce. Greater Winston-Salem Inc. is a member of the Black Chamber of Commerce. True Lion Federal Credit Union recently joined. The school system is getting ready to join. So we welcome everybody, but we offer help and give guidance through the African-American lens.
That's amazing. I love that. And thank you for that bit of history as well. It just makes me want to dive in to the history of Winston-Salem and what the area was around Innovation Quarter with those black businesses, the Black Wall Street, if you will, of Winston-Salem. So that's interesting. That's interesting. I'm curious to know how over the past 22 years the organization has grown.
What a question. So now it's time to go back down memory lane again. So I'll begin by thanking my predecessors as far as being presidents, because I stand on some pretty broad shoulders. Miriam McCarter was the initial president. She owned a bookstore called Special Occasions over on MLK Drive, right down from Union Station, right down from Winston-Salem State. She was the initial president. Subsequently, Dana Suggs, who owns a business called Body and Soul on Trade Street, became president. We had another president, Jesse Himes. The person who endured the role longest was Randon Pender, my immediate predecessor, a great lady, still connected to the community, and thus I became president after that. Now, I mentioned that first, Deetra, because as a totally volunteer board, we do this because we love it. We do it because we embrace the need to do it. And yes, if we want to make it spiritual, we've been called to do this work right now, today. Okay?
Yes.
So we started back in 2002 pretty much as a networking organization. So we didn't have a brick and mortar office. We met once a month wherever we could find donated space, and people would come and introduce themselves and pass out business cards. Maybe there was a guest speaker, and maybe business would result from that from the attendees. Maybe it wouldn't. I'm happy to say that now we do have a brick and mortar office down at the Enterprise Center, where Carol Davis is the executive director. She runs the S.G. Atkins Community Development Corporation. Tremendous lady, ever so supportive. So we have a brick and mortar office. We have an administrative assistant named Joy, who I affectionately call the air traffic controller, because much like a real air traffic controller, she is juggling a lot of schedules and activities and communications, but she gets the job done. We have 5 of the board members beside myself: Gloria Hairston, our vice president; Kendrick Connerly, our secretary; Michael Suggs, who is also president of Goler CDC, and 2 of our newest members, Lynetta Blakeney and Paulette Duggins. So what we do now is more than networking. We have a signature training program called the Road to Business Resilience, where we pay people to come learn. We focus on core competencies. We started this training during the COVID pandemic, thus the name Road to Business Resilience, because if you survive a pandemic, whether you're in business or not, you are resilient.
Yes.
So we focus on some core competencies. We have some attendance requirements, and if those attendance requirements are met, participants get a check in an envelope at the end of the process. We have recently started a youth empowerment initiative where we are seeking juniors and seniors in high school. We are helping them become more familiar with the entrepreneurial world. Many of them already want to go into business. Many of them are already in business, believe it or not. So we partner with the youth, with Title I schools. We let them be mentored by members of the Winston-Salem Black Chamber. We have 100 plus members with a plethora of industries represented. So that's something that we recently started and we are growing. We're also in the City of Winston-Salem strategic plan. And we're in there specifically for workforce development.
Really?
So a big part of what we're doing now, going back to Road to Business Resilience training, is training. So whether you want to be an entrepreneur or whether you want to be employed by someone else, there's certain skills that you need. People skills, soft skills, hard skills, technology skills. So we're partnering with Goler CDC. We're partnering with Winston-Salem State. We're partnering with the Center for Creative Economy, where Margaret Collins is director, because we can't do it all ourselves,
That's right.
to provide some workforce development, workforce preparation training. So that's keeping us busy.
It sounds like it's keeping you extremely busy, extremely busy. I love that. And I remember when you guys started the Road to Business Resilience during the pandemic and how effective it continues to be. And I had the honor of being at one of the graduation ceremonies and just seeing the look on the faces of those entrepreneurs when they were handed that check at the end of the process. It's just like, wow, it's not just about starting a business, but knowing that you have the support. I'm sure they enjoy getting the check, but learning and getting that training and having that support at the end of the day and seeing things through that particular lens that is focused on you has to be extremely valuable to everyone that has taken part in that. You mentioned your youth empowerment program that you've started. I'm so curious about that because actually just earlier this week, someone was asking me, hey, are there any programs that are concentrating on high school students and helping them understand how to become an entrepreneur? Ding, ding, ding. Here we go. So
Well, what a coincidence.
Let's talk a little bit more about that because as soon as this episode airs, I'm sharing the link with him so he knows that
Yes.
there's something happening in Winston-Salem with that.
So I have to give credit to our Vice President, Gloria Hairston, because she is the facilitator of this new youth empowerment initiative. A dynamic lady, well-connected lady. And the thought being that let's not make this a situation where it's the old people preaching to the young people. So the program, the curriculum was developed to make it very interactive, to do a lot of asking them. Now, if you are thinking about going into business, or if you are going into business, who are you going to sell to? How much are you going to sell it to them for? How much will you have to sell before you can make a profit? So we're preparing them with real fundamental questions rather than let's get into market share and the return on investment and the cash flow equity key performance indicator. No, we're going to speak in their language, and we're intentionally proactively seeking their involvement in what they want to learn.
That's great.
So after we do the interview assessment, we do have a curriculum where, again, we partnered with Winston-Salem Rise, which is a nonprofit based here in the community, where Paula McCoy and Chuck Bird are leaders. We partnered with the 20, another nonprofit that has offices there at the Enterprise Center, where Perry Kabian, who's a financial planner by trade, is there leading that team. And of course, the Black Chamber is involved so that they can literally be mentored and coached by members of the board, including yours truly, as well as members of the Winston-Salem Black Chamber. So the curriculum is both virtual as well as in person, mostly virtual. It's going to begin April the 5th. And I believe it's going to end June the 14th. And much like Road to Business Resilience, the intent is to let them network, let them ask questions, let them be mentored, and then give them some financial incentive to say, okay, you want to start a business? Here's a little seed money, literally seed money to help you get your idea started. And I must add that we're also proactively seeking the involvement of the family. Because if you're talking youth, I can remember when I was a junior and senior and I thought I was grown and I thought I knew it all, and don't be telling me nothing about nothing because I knew what to do. But I'm still a youth, okay?
Right.
So the point here being that, yes, we want the parents and guardians actively involved for two reasons. One, maybe they're going to learn some skills regarding entrepreneurship, regarding money management, regarding budgeting, regarding planning. And secondly, maybe they choose to become members of the Winston-Salem Black Chamber as adults. We welcome, again, everybody. We want everybody at the table. So we've got some funding from the Winston-Salem Foundation. Shout out to Courtney Felice and, of course, the president, Latita Smith. And we are excited. It's something we've never done before, but the need is there. The need is there, and we've been called to do the work.
I am so excited and thrilled that you guys are doing this, and just everything that you're doing there at the Winston-Salem Black Chamber. And again, the Winston-Salem Black Chamber has that lens for African-American owned businesses. However, it's open to everybody. So for everyone listening today, if they want to learn more about the Winston-Salem Black Chamber, or if they want to become members or see what other programs are going on, how do they do that?
Excellent question, Deidre. So our website is yes, still use the W's, www.wsb, as in business, cc.org. WSBCC.org, or you can call. You can actually call me, believe it or not. I do answer the phone, and if I don't answer the phone, leave a specific voicemail message. I promise I'll call you back. My number is 743-999-0088.
Excellent. Calvin, thank you so much for everything that you've taken the time to share today. And I loved learning about your background and the whole NCMB Plaza thing here today. That was fun. The vault story, that was fun. And we're not going to blow anything up.
We need to get the dynamite.
We'll figure something else out. But was there anything that we didn't share today that you want everyone to know before we wrap up?
The only thing that I would reiterate is the partnership aspect of what we do. Yes, we are the Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce, but we welcome partnerships. We welcome collaboration. The partnership with Greater Winston-Salem, Inc., the personal relationship with Mark Owens. We're growing the relationship with Winston-Salem State and Chancellor Graham. Other nonprofits in the area. We want to grow that relationship with the city of Winston-Salem and the county. So my point is, we're about networking. We're about working together. So if you have a project that you think will help African-American entrepreneurship or help youth entrepreneurship or help workforce development, let's have a conversation and see what we can do together. Oh, Deidre, there is one more thing. The Winston-Salem Black Chamber of Commerce has been a recipient of a grant recently from, guess who? Greater Winston-Salem, Inc.
You didn't give me a chance to guess. I was going to guess.
A new grant, as a matter of fact, called ESO, basically focusing on entrepreneurship. So we are grateful to Mark Owens and the team there at Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. that made the opportunity possible, made us aware of the opportunity opportunity, and certainly, again, grateful for the partners that we're working with that help create a yes for that grant opportunity. So thank you, Greater Winston-Salem, Inc.
Absolutely. Congratulations on that win. Calvin, again, thank you. And for everyone listening, until next time. We know you enjoyed this podcast today, so join us for the next episode of Greater Conversations. By the way, you can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Be sure to smash that subscribe button. Also, be sure to visit our website at winstonsalem.com. The views and opinions stated in this podcast are solely those of the contributors and not necessarily those of our sponsors, distributors, or hosting companies. This podcast is copyrighted and cannot be reproduced without expressed written consent of Greater Winston-Salem, Inc. or your toast.